Okay, in this video we're going to look at making some vendors and see how that works. Our first, just as a reminder, let me show you in the inventory server here. I edit linked and pick the top box there. You'll remember that we put in a thing called blue thing, or a green thing, and a red thing, and I added where to unpack as suffixes to the first ones, but I took it off of the red thing. So we're going to start with a really simple case first, which is where the vendor name exactly matches the name of a product that's in the inventory server. And here's how this works. So the vendor is then named red thing to exactly match that, and you need to put pricing information. So our first basic pricing technique is everything goes in a square bracket, by the way, at the end of the description line. So you could put, this is my Neato item, and at the end you'll put in square brackets your pricing information. First thing we're going to do is go with a standard, very simple, put an absolute number in there, and that's the number that the prim is going to be for sale for. So we go back to our inventory, we grab the vendor script, and we drop that on the vendor. And in local chat, you'll see the vendor startup. It'll show you the name, some information I'll tell you about in a little bit. Then there's a price, which is 100 lindens. There's 2, which is 2 lindens, which is the non-group buyer's reward rate. And 5, which is 5 lindens, which is the group buyer's reward rate. And you'll remember in a previous video, in the store controller, we set up our default values for non-group and for group to be 2% and 5%. So that's why you're seeing those values there of 2 and 5. We can, on the vendor, let's close this, go here. We can also change that on the vendor. I'm going to put 5% as the non-group value and 10% as the group value. Hit enter to save that. Then you have to reset the vendor anytime you make changes to the name or the description. So we'll just click the reset button. And now you see that we're no longer using the default values because we specified vendor values. And values on the vendor override the defaults that are in the controller. Let's go back to just the standard default values. Okay. So now we're going to be back to, if we reset, we're going to be back to that normal price. Also in the store controller, in the settings note card, we also have a price group in here that I added called things, and the price group is priced at 100 linden. Just to show you how that works, I'm going to go here. I'm going to put the word things here instead of the 100. Okay. And when I reset this vendor, you'll see that it's still going to come up as costing 100 linden. But now that value is coming from the store controller. So if I had 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 or 1,000 vendors that all reference the word thing for their price group, I could change all of those vendors in one fell swoop by changing just the store controller. I'll show you how to change the prices and all that jazz later. So let's do a quick purchase and make sure that this actually works. The vendor is then set. The pay will come up as the as 100 linden, and it's up to you whether you set your objects to touch by default or to pay by default. If they're set to pay, then you'll get the dollar sign, but getting the menu to come up is more difficult. You have to right click and pick menu. Or if you leave left click set to touch, then it's easy to get the menu up, and to pay you have to right click. So it's up to you how you want to have yours set up. Right now this is set up this way so that we have to right click to pay. Most people are used to that. Now watch over here the transaction relay and the delivery relay when we pay this vendor, and you'll see they'll both flash to 1 for a second while it processes it, sends our information to the server from the transaction relay, sends our information to the inventory server from the delivery relay, and everything will happen like it's supposed to. So we got the object given to us. I'm just going to get rid of it. And everything got recorded. Now the inventory server shows that we've delivered one object. So that's the first step in building a simple vendor, and we'll go on and do a few more advanced things in the next tutorial.